Call the Clarkson Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting to order at 6:04. Let's rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Julie, would you call the roll, please?
Michelle Gann.
Here.
Mary Himberg.
Here.
Evan Makarian.
Here.
Allison McFadden-Kiesling.
Here.
Jane Molson, absent. Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Kay Robertson.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight as written.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Sorry, Al.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. Any comment or question? Okay, if not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Call to the public. We have a small public tonight. The treasurer of the Friends is joining us.
No, the secretary.
The secretary of the Friends, excuse me. All right. The consent agenda, relatively long tonight. Is there a motion regarding that?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
I'll second it.
Evan has seconded. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Anything anyone wants to remove? Okay, if not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is approved. Library Director's Report.
Okay, the first thing that I have to bring up this evening, Jan Gaffney, who is the liaison between the Friends Board and the Library Board, is ill this evening and was not able to come, so she asked me to speak on her behalf. First of all, she wanted to let everybody know about the Friends of the Library Chocolate Celebration. That will be on April 9th, starting at 6:30. There will be a pre-Friends meeting, and then there will be a chocolate demonstration starting at 7 o'clock from Essence on Main, and there will be a chocolate tasting, and she wanted to make sure that I invited the library board to not only enter in a chocolate contest, but also to attend and nibble chocolate with us. So I'm passing that information on, and then the other thing that she wanted me to let you know is that the Friends of the Library are having a membership drive, and there is a table in the lobby, and if any of you would like to help out by staffing that table just to greet people as they come and go and let them know about the Friends and what the Friends do, they would be happy to hear from you if you would like to help with that. So that's the first announcement. That's not really part of my report, but now I can let her know to take care of it. And I wish her well and getting better. So, for the library director's report, just for general news, I sent out an email earlier, but it is with sadness I must report the passing of Marilyn Hanson. Marilyn was a longtime library user, library volunteer, and library friend. She was involved in the Women's Club project to create this library in the early 1950s, and there is a visitation for Marilyn at Wynn Funeral Home from 5 to 9 p.m. this evening, and I know some of us have went before, and I think some people were going to go after the board meeting, so I just wanted to let everybody know, and we will really miss her. Establishment and transition of the library. We've been talking about the library sign and updating the sign. I have worked with Museum Director Tony Smith on updating the library sign. We're looking at a 10-year vinyl with a UV laminate to protect it from the sun. The sign company we're working with estimated that 70% of the sign cost would be the libraries and 30% would be the museums, and that's just because of the size differential. And the top of the library sign is arched. And because they have to do that arched cut, it's a little more expensive, and so he was taking that into account and trying to divide it fairly. The museum's board has agreed to pay for the museum's portion, and the Friends of the Library board has agreed to pay for the library's portion, which is about $1,200, and that's both front and back. So Tony and I are working with the company on a simple basic design and a color palette that should be agreeable with both organizations, so we hope to have that done in fairly short order. Staffing and benefits, our head of technical services has been working hard to get the staffing in place for processing and cataloging since our cataloger retired in December. She's been conducting interviews for part-time help and is just finishing up that hiring process, so we should have that taken care of shortly. And we have almost completed the initiation of the retirement plan for the library employees. That's been quite a process, as the Employee Benefits Committee knows. The employees had an orientation to the new MERS program last week, so we're just getting the final paperwork from the employees because they have to sign up and determine if there's anything extra that they want to contribute, that sort of thing. So we're just waiting on the last couple of submissions from the staff, and there is an employee meeting next week with the company that handled the township's retirement plan to make sure everybody understands all their options in terms of the money that they've had from saving for the township. So we've got that under control, and the staff seems to be pretty pleased with the new program and the way in which we rolled it out.
Are they going to hold that meeting here in the library?
Yeah, we had, it's, Thursday mornings have been working out since we closed a little bit earlier. All of the library staff is usually here on Thursday, so we have a meeting before we open. We did that this past Thursday to do the introduction to the new plan. We'll do it next Thursday to give everybody a chance to meet with the person from the other. Because there are 4 different options of what you can do with that. You can leave it where it is, you can roll it, there's a number of things you can do. We just want to make sure everybody really understands what their options are. So. The wrap-up meeting, Building and Grounds, the wrap-up meeting for the HVAC ductwork project took place on Friday, March 8th. Hooray! The township's inspectors provided a short list of items that they wanted taken care of on Monday and Tuesday of the following week, just a little bit of electrical and, you know, tape this and glue this and caulk that, and they seem to have taken care of all of those things. The state's inspectors will not be called in to finalize the project until the roof work is complete also, because they didn't want the inspectors trying to inspect at the same time that the roofers are lifting the supports for the ductwork, and it's kind of chaos up there right now. So Bloom Roofing, next part of this, Bloom Roofing was hoping to start the library's roof replacement on Monday, March 4th, but uncooperative weather delayed the start of that until Thursday, March 7th. They actually have a very aggressive plan. They intend to complete 1/4 of the project each day for a total of 4 days. The temperature needs to be 40 degrees for the glue to adhere properly, so there is a weather call each morning at 6:30 a.m. to determine if work will take place that day. And unfortunately, the weather has not been warm enough for the work to continue. So we had Thursday, and they got 1/4 of it done. There were 10 or 11 guys up there, and I couldn't believe how quickly they worked, and they were very, very efficient. But now we're waiting for this nasty weather to pass. And once again, this is something that is being funded by the Charter Township of Independence, and we are very thankful that they are doing that for us. So. And then the last building and grounds maintenance thing, the snow plowing contractor was able to cold patch the parking lot on Friday, March 8th and Saturday, March 9th, which that should hold us until spring when real repairs can be done. I have received some estimates and have been talking to contractors regarding the level of repairs we really want to consider. There's a lot of options. I mean, you can go anywhere from what was originally proposed in the fall of a $300,000 complete replacement to what seems to be coming in at less than $5,000 in terms of just repairing where the really bad places are. So we have cold patched, and we're at least stable enough so that we have time to make a solid decision on what we want to do. I'm talking to various contractors and kind of finding out what the options are, and then we can decide what we want to do. If it's more than $5,000, we'll do the full bid process, and the board can approve that, and we'll do like sealed bids and that. So that's where we are with that.
Thank you. Okay, now to regular business. Number 1, discussion of United for Libraries advocacy grant.
Okay. This is a really sort of a neat and timely opportunity. This just came through my email about a week and a half ago, and I've had a chance to read it. In your packet, you have the information on the Citizens Save Libraries grant program. This is an opportunity for 20 libraries to develop individual blueprints for advocacy campaigns to save threatened library budgets. I believe our situation is unique and could make our library a candidate to receive this assistance, even though there are only 20 libraries. It's definitely worth trying. And here are a couple of the reasons. According to the Library of Michigan, our library was one of only two left in the state of Michigan that was stuck under a repealed law. It took our library 36 years and a failed attempt to reestablish the library after the law was repealed. And the only remaining step is to secure stable funding, and if the step fails, the district dissolves. So that's about
That's a
as best as you
crisis.
can get.
That's a big
Yeah.
crisis.
The 2012 millage campaign was so compacted it did not allow time to properly spread the word. But I think if we had some advocacy training and had proper timing, we would be able to really make sure the public understood it. And then, of course, the situation is complicated and the public needs a clear understanding prior to the election. So this really seemed like a good opportunity. Obviously there's no guarantee that we'll get it, but I think we can write something that would at least give us a good shot at it. So there are actually two cycles. Cycle 1, it's due on April 15th. We would be notified by May 15th, and then the training would take place from June 1st of 2013 to May 1st of 2014. That obviously is the perfect timing for us. Cycle 2 is due April 15th of 2014, and the training would be June 1st of 2014 through 2015. So if we don't get cycle 1, really, I think we're going to have to go for cycle 1, or it's not really going to be worth it for us. But the requirements are pretty simple. First, you have to demonstrate need. I think, as I said, we have a very unique situation. We have to have at least 5 volunteers willing to be part of this project. Well, I'm one, so we need 4 in addition, so I don't think that's going to be too hard to find.
And can't these people can come from a variety of...
From a variety of sources. They could be citizens, they could be library board members, they could be Friends board members, they could be friends of the library, it could be library staff, so we can gather up 5 people that are willing to go through this training and really advocate on behalf of the library. The leadership team needs to be available for 2 days of training, 5 hours each day. Somebody on the team needs to agree to be the mentor, and if we were to get this grant, I would be able to be the mentor, because essentially what that means is you agree to go out and do training, for example, at the Michigan Library Association, do a presentation on what it is you learned and how it helped you and that kind of thing, and I've done those kinds of presentations before, so I would be able and willing to do that. And then the last and the most important piece is that the library board has to be on board with it and give their approval. So before I can even talk about doing that, I wanted to bring this forward and just give you a chance to kind of look at it and see if you have any questions. Essentially what it is training specifically on educating the public about the library's benefits and why libraries need it, and make sure that everybody understands the situation right now.
Excuse me, when I read this, it looked like an awesome opportunity to do that, if you're willing to do the paperwork.
Yeah, that's really your time.
And
Yes,
such a
timing
short
is
time,
excellent.
The timing, but I mean Julie's time.
But do you have the time between now and April?
I will make the time for this one. This is too perfect of an opportunity to pass up. So, yeah, absolutely, I think we should. The only piece that I might add is that the library board might want to, in the same way that we have an employee benefits committee, we might want to have a couple of board members that are willing to be part of the library advocacy committee that talks about the library's future plans and that kind of thing, that would help meet with the staff. And even if you don't want to be one of those 5 core volunteers, just to make sure that as we go through this process, there are a couple of people from the board that would come in at various times and just make sure that we're on the course that you think that we're on, and kind of keep an eye on things. So I don't know if there's anybody that might be interested in that aspect of it.
Has anyone else written a grant at all?
No.
Apply for grants? I've done a few, but I wouldn't mind just like being a part of the proofreading and before we
Absolutely.
submit.
Absolutely.
I also thought it'd be a good idea for something to be brought up at the Friends meeting on the 9th then, because we might want some of them to be collaboratively involved at the get-go.
Timing-wise, it actually worked out that they had talked about the possibility of hiring a consultant to help us with this. And so their board meeting was last week.
Okay.
And so I mentioned that this had just come across my desk, and I was really interested in doing it. I was going to approach the library board, just to kind of put the seed in the back of their minds to let them know. Because I wasn't sure, since they don't meet again until close to the deadline, I thought they should at least know, just to make sure that we weren't trying to pull them in or speaking on their behalf. So they're already
On board?
they just thought it was a good opportunity.
Good opportunity.
Yeah, but they thought it was up to the library board to make the decision, but they're in full support if that's the direction that you want to go. So.
Okay, so we really have, we have a couple things here. We have, do do we want Julie to proceed with the writing of the grant? And do we want to set up a subcommittee that kind of will monitor the future of the library? So as we're talking about our plans for the use of our facilities, for how we want to present ourselves to the public, just how we want to deal with the future issues. So if we have any volunteers for that, we need to think about that, because that would be a very good idea too. So we have our benefits group, we have 2 people who are working hard on that, and then we have a couple people who would be willing to look at future issues.
I would be willing to work on this.
Okay.
And Eugene might too, but I can't speak for her, but she
Right.
might be interested.
I think she probably
So
would
she
be.
might,
Okay.
I might, so
Okay,
we can
discuss
Yeah.
and.
we
I
can
think
get
we'll
that
find
too. So talk to Julie, so if we have a couple of people willing to do that,
Very good.
okay.
And I have Evan down that wants to work on the, at least on the final stages of the grant.
Of the grant. So we need a proposal on the grant.
I move to approve the library director to apply for cycle 1 of the Citizens Save Libraries MAC grant.
I'll second that. Mary seconds. Okay, any other discussion on the issue? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Okay, the next thing you have before you is a budget document. It was not in your packet. We were having some technical difficulties. But we seem to have solved our technical difficulties. So it's this horizontal page that was at your seat when you sat down. There are a few things that I'm just going to go over with you. We are basically 21% of the year has gone by. So if you look at the far right-hand column, it says the percent of budget used so far this year. There are a couple of issues with what you see here. As I said, we were having some technical difficulties. So the first 3 lines where it says full-time wages, part-time wages, and overtime, I'm working with the finance director right now. We have to set up a mechanism by which, because we're outsourcing our payroll to ADP, that ADP is uploaded into the BSNA financial software so that it shows how much it has been used. And right now there isn't a mechanism by which to do that. So Susan and I have been working on that, and we still have a little bit of work to do, obviously, because it's not showing up properly. So that also includes the FICA, which is the 271-790-715 line. So it looks like nothing has been expended out of that, and also retirement and OPEB. Those are all, they're actually being utilized, but they're not reporting into this software yet, because that has to be done in a manual fashion, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to do that. So we're working on that. Okay, so the ones that might create some questions, workers' comp is at 0, and it's not that we are not providing workers' comp, it's that workers' comp is one of those things that you pay for a couple times. It's not a monthly bill.
Okay.
So that's why it appears that we haven't done anything with that, but that's because it hasn't been billed to us yet. We have a couple, the disability, long-term and short-term are at 33% instead of 21%. That's because we had to pay for December of 2012 out of this year's budget. So we're always going to be 1 month paid off, ahead. So that one's always going to be a little more than the percentage that we are at this point. Operating supplies is a little bit more than 21%. I'm not really concerned about that. There were a few things that we kind of had to hold off purchasing at the end of the year, a couple of expensive toner cartridges and things that we couldn't afford with last year's budget. So that explains why that's just slightly up. The one that might catch your eye is insurance, the 910 line. That's at 50%. That's because that is paid in 3 installments. There's a 50% installment, and then there are 2 25% installments. So just to put your mind at ease, the 50% installment has come in, and the 225s will come at a later date. That line item will be at zero about the middle of the year because you pay it all off. They give you 3 payments, but it's not like it's spread out over the full course of the year. I believe by July we will have paid and that line item will be at zero. So I didn't want anybody to be concerned that we were spending that money really fast. That's just the way they bill us for those things. Equipment maintenance is another one that's at a 50% mark, and that's because the big portion of that is our ILS, which was on your consent agenda, the software maintenance agreement. It's about $12,000. You pay that once a year in one lump sum, and you pay it at the very beginning of the year. So that's another line item that you pay as a big chunk. It isn't billed out in intervals. Yeah, so that one is going to look like that as well. Let me see. Is there any other? And everything.
Lots of snow removal.
Lots of snow, yeah, there's been quite a, well, that's not just snow removal, there was, we did blow the motor on the HVAC unit 3, so that's in there as well, and then, the patching of the full patching is in there, so it's not just snow, fortunately. Plus it's also the supplies, you know, the cleaning supplies and things like that, so.
Julie?
Yeah.
Is it alarming at all that it's 54% already, a quarter of the year for building maintenance?
Equipment maintenance, I think, is the one that.
That's
What am I looking at?
That's
Am I
equipment
mixing
maintenance,
them
yeah.
up?
Building maintenance is at 25%, so it's a little high.
The
Yeah.
software.
Oh, I see.
It's the equipment maintenance just below, that's that big software
Okay.
expenditure, yeah, the maintenance software. Yeah. Yeah, if it were buildings and ground, I would be a little more frantic.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That would be a moment for frantic, yes.
But actually, don't we generally have a little higher buildings and ground because of the snow removal?
Well, it just depends on the year, you know.
Yeah.
And building and grounds is one of those things that sometimes you spend it in big chunks and sometimes it just spreads
Right,
out.
if it's really dry, we might not mow as often.
Exactly, and that's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. We've had years when, that particular line item is truly a guessing game because you're guessing what's gonna break.
Right.
Even now.
Even now, absolutely, absolutely. Any questions about this? Okay, well, my plan is to do this kind of a quarterly report. So the next quarter, when you see this, the numbers at the top should all be entered in. I can do an extra one if you'd like to see the version once we have this figured out. I'd be happy to do that if you'd like an extra one because we don't have everything on.
So we have to work with the township to work on the software.
We need a mechanism by which, because essentially what's happening is we're doing our payroll separately from them, and so they don't know what those numbers are, and there is an uploadable quality to it, but we have to make arrangements for them to have access to do that uploading, and I can do that. And actually, it doesn't have to be quarterly, this could be monthly if you would like to do that, and it could be in your packet, and you could ask questions if you have questions, whatever way you would like to do it. But I thought at the very least, talking about it quarterly would be a good idea.
I think this year,
Yeah.
that's good, when we get
Okay.
these glitches worked out.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and plan when we get the glitches worked out to bring you the updated version of this, so that I can prove that it's fixed. The salary corrections, okay.
Okay. Any questions about the 2013 budget? Okay, in that case, let's deal with legal services.
Okay, but as we talked about during the budget process, usually the library requires minimal legal assistance, so there may not always be a need to have money allocated in the legal services line item, and we did decide not to do that this year. By August of 2014, the library will have a millage on the ballot. At this time, there's not an election scheduled in 2013, but you'll remember from an email that there is a possibility that there could be an election in 2013. Essentially what I'm suggesting is that we put $1,000 in the legal services line item so that I can start that conversation with the attorney and have her, if you have questions about, I know there were a number of things about the ballot language that we felt were not maybe easy to understand.
Right.
So
That's a nice way to put
That's
that.
very nice.
so perhaps have her work on that now so that we have a better handle on it instead of waiting until the 11th hour. If, for example, the state were to decide to have an election or, as I said in the email, that they were talking about possibly doing a May election, and they were talking about it in March. Had they decided to, and we wanted to be on that, we literally would have had days to figure out the ballot language.
And how does that stand, that decision to have that
They
election?
decided not to do May. It's my understanding that they may still be considering November. I
Of
don't-
this year?
Of this year. I don't know for certain. I'm not sure it's the best thing for us to do, but I think
It would be good to be ready.
in Girl Scout fashion, it's better to be prepared
Yes.
than to decide you want to do it and not be prepared. So,
Yeah.
And I really would like that language looked at. That additional millage commentary versus replacement millage. There may be some things that are legal, but when the legal language isn't accurate, then that's not a helpful thing for trying to educate the public.
And while they may not be able to change that it says additional, they may be able to, in the same way that they added on the sentence, we added on the sentence at the bottom about how for the CIA, it's only the properties in that corridor. That wasn't, it's not that that language isn't legal, but that wasn't part of the standardized language. So obviously things can be added, and there may be something that could be added stating that it is replacement funding. So I don't, she didn't really offer that up when we were going through that process, but we may be able to ask her and give her some time to look into it and make sure that that would be a possibility. So, if we want to.
Because I think that was probably the most confusing language in that section.
I would agree. I absolutely agree. I'll be honest, I don't know how much it would cost to do the language. I would think it wouldn't be that expensive. We have language to start from. What we want to do is correct the language that we had and make it
Or
clearer.
make it clearer, definitely.
So I would think we could do that for a fairly nominal fee, unless we end up asking a lot of questions about it.
So do we have a motion on moving some money into legal?
Well, can I ask a question first?
Yeah, certainly.
The $1,000 that would be moved from professional contract, you say that you're gonna do some sort of economizing?
I'm hoping to be able to do that. Essentially what I'm looking at is there are some contracts that when you budget them, you have to guess that they might be a little more expensive, and I'm hoping to be able to go in and cut some costs somewhere, looking at those numbers.
Okay.
Not really accounting maneuvers, but some things that I had to guess were gonna be a little high, and I'm gonna do some research and see if I can bring some things down. And
So that might be the best place to squeeze a little
I'm
bit.
hoping so, I'm hoping so. There are a couple of things in terms of, for example, when we did the fiscal agency agreement with the township, I budgeted for the maximum. They said it would be no more than $600 a month. Well, there is a possibility that it wouldn't be $600 a month. So if they're only $400 a month, there could be $200 a month on the table that could be
Perfect.
used to. So I'm looking for things like that,
Gotcha.
where we had to budget a little high just to be sure. Same thing with our ADP contract. I budgeted for what I thought the absolute maximum would be, and then now I can go back and look at it and see if perhaps it's a little bit less. We have some dollars there. I'm hoping.
That helps.
Okay.
I move to approve a budget adjustment of $1,000 to be moved from the professional and contract services line item, and give the line item number to the legal services line item with that number.
Second it?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move a bit of money from professional contract services to legal services. Any other questions or comments on that issue?
I just think it's a very good idea to continually be trying to update that language and keep it right out there so we're ready to go.
Right, so that we are ready.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so then we know what we're dealing with when we know what kind of education we want to
Yes.
Exactly.
present.
It would be helpful. I know that some of you have some specific concerns about the language. If you would like to email me those specific concerns, I can put them into a document and get them to the attorney right away. That would be, because I know that you've been talking to people in the community, you know, the specific things that are really problematic about it. So let's have her look at those and see, is there a better way we can say this? Is there something we can add? What the concerns are? So.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of moving the $1,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. And that amount will be moved from the one item to the other, right? Okay. Okay, is there any other item that anybody can think of tonight, or any other questions? Okay, if not, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I so move that we adjourn at 6:39, no, 6:34. Depends on which angle you're looking at.
That's right.
There's a glare on the clock.
That is. We'll divide it in the middle.
Okay.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 6:33.